I went pro in '91 snowboarding. I went pro in the fall of '97. I was actually still like working in the summers to make sure I had enough money to support myself because I wasn't rich or anything, and I had to you know pay rent and buy food and stuff. And snowboarding, I was a racer. People who were snowboarding doing freestyle were making big
Back
money,
then.
hundreds of thousands of
Yeah.
dollars back then. And I was a racer, which wasn't as popular as freestyle and whatnot. So I was having to like work still in the summer, um, and so I was like planting trees forever, and I would plant probably 100,000 trees a summer to make money, like 15 cents a tree, try and make my 15 grand or whatever. And then I tree planted for 9 years, and so I planted over 1 million trees
Who are you
in
planning
my
for? The
career.
government or what?
No, for forestry companies, by
It's a
law, when a
private
company cuts
private
down a
company.
tree, a private company, when they cut down a tree, they had to plant three little
Oh,
ones
that's a good
to
system. I don't
replace.
think our country has that. Well, maybe they do have something, but
Right.
that sounds good. Okay.
That's what it was back then, anyway. So they had to replant, reforest,
Yeah.
BC where they're cutting down trees, and they've done several generations. Some of those trees that we planted years ago have been cut down again. Anyway, so I was doing that, and as well, I would pave the roads. I would shovel asphalt, and so I was a chunk of muscle because I was shoveling asphalt all day, and it kept me in shape working with a shovel all summer, and then I would go snowboarding. But I took my last paycheck from paving in a place called Fernie, BC, and I went to this show, this trade show I heard about called Interbike, and it wasn't in Vegas yet. It was in California. Where was it in? It's where they have Disneyland. Anyways,
And I have done no idea. Probably
Anaheim,
near Anaheim,
Anaheim.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, Anaheim, California. And so I went there. Richie Schley and I both went down,
So
and
this is for the
we
listener,
left
this is
there.
the biggest bike trade show at the time. And well, I don't know, they don't still have it, but anyway, just for context. So you go to this
Yeah,
huge
it was
trade
like
show.
the, the biggest one in North America, anyways. I don't know if Eurobike was that big yet, but
We'll just
it
say
was the
no.
biggest trade show in North America, anyways. And so I went there, and I had like a little VHS tape of myself, and I would like try and get a hold of a VHS machine and show people this footage of me like jumping off cliffs and riding steep lines, and I had some photos and stuff. And a lot of people weren't into it. They were like, "What do you like? So is this a competition?" And I'm like, "No, it's just we're free riding. We're just having fun and we're just doing gnarly things." And they're like, "Well, how do we benefit from that? Like, who wins?" And I'm like, "No one wins. You win if you land and you
And you
survive.
don't
Like
die.
that's how you win if you don't die." And they're like, "Oh, well, we don't get it." And so not a lot of people got it. And a lot of people were like, "Well, why would we want you to be seen on camera breaking our products?
Good point.
Like this doesn't make
Good
sense to
point.
us. We don't want anything to do with this." And I'm like, and so I actually got a few sponsors. Rocky Mountain sponsored me and Richie Slay and Wade Simmons and a couple girls, Karis Evans and Damien Skelton. Actually, Damien Skelton was a Canadian national downhill champion, and Karis was this crazy chick who rode gnarly lines. But I think they only did 1 or 2 years. But the three of us, the guys, we rode for years under the banner of the Rocky Mountain Fro Riders. And Marizoki, Bryson Martin saw what was going on, and he's like, "This is cool. I like this. This is going to be
Yeah,
a cool win."
they backed it from early on, her that brand. I remember that. Yeah.
Totally. The Z1 was like an open bath design, and it was like low maintenance, pretty like heavy for the day, like compared to whatever else was on the market. And I think Giro helmets stepped in. And anyway, so I walked out of there with like 20 and a 12 and a $10,000 contract. So I walked out of there with enough money that I didn't have to do a normal job anymore, and I could just ride my bike and snowboard in the winter. And it was amazing for me. That was big money, and it climbed over the years. And at one point, I think in the 2000s when I did Rampage, I was doing like six figures. But early, like to make you know 40, 50 grand was insane. Like that was like for a small redneck kid, I was like buying a new truck. I bought a dirt bike. I'm like, I could like take my friends out for dinner, and like I was like ghetto rich.
Get a rich.
um, and the thing is, I didn't have to work, so I could just ride all the time. And you know, so then we and it was everything was free. You know, everything were sponsored, and so we get free plane tickets, and all the gear was free. And then you know we start traveling the world trying to spread the word, the gospel of free ride. And as the sport grew and people got more and more into it, people would take us to their gnarliest trails and try and kill us to see if we could ride these technical things. And that's exactly what we wanted because we wanted a challenge and we're trying to you know get good photos and get a rush from see if we could hang on down these gnarly slopes that people would take us to. And it was just an amazing time in the golden age of freeride. And you know like I did a 15 footer, and then Dangerous Dan did an 18 footer, and then I did a 22 footer, and then you know Dangerous Dan did a 23 footer, then I did a 25 footer, and then Bender came along, and then Bender did a 32 footer, and then Wade did a you know 35 footer, and like it was just all this like one-upsmanship, and the sport was growing, and everyone's going bigger and bigger, and it was just a magical time, and it was all so fresh and new, and we were rock stars, and talking about kissing pretty girls, it was like being a rock star. Like in Europe, you know what it's like in Europe. If you're like a professional cyclist or professional soccer player, it's like being a rock star. And so there was tons of beautiful ladies, and it was a dream come true. I was just like surrounded just by all these babes going, I love this.